So, getting into a couple of rather juicy questions. Worst partner you've ever had? Ooh, they bragged about manipulating their way to the top of the goth scene. What the hell is the top of the goth scene? I don't know if this is a troll question or a genuine question, but nonetheless, I think it needs answering. It's been nearly 3 years and I am still dealing with the after effects of throwing myself in with very dark spirits and entities, and obviously this may be something you do not believe in at all, and honestly I didn't believe in it either. So to have I had plastic surgery generally is yes. So hello, you wonderful humans of the internet, and welcome to the answering of burning questions about ghosts and Tories and fake faces and whether or not I hate doing this job. Yeah, one of you guys asked me the other day to do another Q&A because it's been a really long time, and I thought that's a fun idea. I would like to sit down and just have a complete waffle about random questions. So I asked you guys on Instagram, and you did indeed feed me lots of very, very, very random and thought-provoking questions. So I have a list of them here, and I'm going to jump in. There's probably going to end up being 2 parts to this because I do tend to waffle. Also, I am having the worst anxiety day I've had in ages right now. So I might waffle even more than usual. So this is probably going to be a 2-parter. But I'm going to jump in with one of the most commonly asked questions. One person who asked it was Dead Souls, and it was asked a few more times too. I didn't catch every single username, but I was asked whether I have had lip filler or any other form of plastic surgery. And the answer to lip filler actually is no, I have not had lip filler. It kind of looks like it because when I was a little goth, I was never quite sure where to put my lipstick. So I used to kind of underdraw a little bit, and it used to look really tiny, whereas these days I overdraw like everyone else in the 2020s, so it looks a lot bigger. But actually, these were my lips back when I was 19 with no makeup on at all, and they've always been like that. However, I have been considering getting lip filler because I do feel like my lips are starting to deflate at this point, and also they've always been uneven. But always, like when I smile, it always kind of goes up higher this side. So I have been thinking about lip filler to balance them up and just make them a tiny bit bigger. So to have I had plastic surgery generally is yes, I have had filler in my laugh lines. I started getting that about a decade ago. When I was in my mid-20s, I actually had quite a marked laugh line, but only on one side. This was the thing. If it was even, I think laugh lines can look really cute. And I have, or rather when I was skinnier, I was starting to get like little kind of bracket lines around my smile, and I really liked them. I didn't want to get rid of those. I really liked them. And now I've gained weight. They've kind of gone away, and I'm a little bit sad about that because I quite like them. They just kind of enhance your smile, I feel like. But my natural wrinkle just had one laugh line, and to me it looked ridiculous. So I got that filled, and I felt like I'd been granted eternal youth or something. I felt so youthful, and I was so happy about it. And I'm surprised I didn't go crazy actually and get like my whole face done. Probably because I couldn't afford it at that point. I couldn't afford really to have anything else done, so I didn't get anything else done. Something I am sad that I can't get is Botox. I don't think I will ever be able to get Botox because of all my chemical sensitivities. I have heard that Botox can cause really, really bad anxiety if you are sensitive to things like chemicals and stuff. That would blatantly happen to me. And Botox is in your face for like months, weeks, I don't even know. But like if that causes like crippling anxiety and you can't get it out of there for months, no thank you. No. So I'm never going to get Botox. However, I have, like, over the course of my life, knowing I can't have Botox, I have looked around and I have found some brilliant face creams, and I will link the details of the face cream I'm using at the moment in the drop down. It's a really cheap one. I found it at the Aldi supermarket, and it's a plumping night mask, and it basically seems to just paralyze this. Like, I used to have a bit of puckering here and it's just gone since I started using that. So there are things you can do. You don't have to get Botox, but nonetheless, like, I do get little lines around here that would be gone with Botox. if I could get Botox, I would, but I can't. And as I say, I'm kind of thinking about a little bit of lip filler. The thing I would love, 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 love to get, though, is my eye bags. Like, I have quite pronounced eye bags, like puffy eye bags. I would love to get those filled. One person told me, you've got too many veins in that area, it would risk blinding you. Me being crazy, I am seeking a second opinion, but I suspect they'll tell me the same thing, because I do have a very prominent vein, like right here, and they'd have to fill right around by it, and I don't know if it's a good idea, so I might be stuck with my puffy eye bags as well. So the next question I really liked came from Lycorn Luciferi, and I'm probably mangling that username like hell. But the question was, what is a Tory and why do British people hate them so much? I don't know if this is a troll question or a genuine question, but nonetheless, I think it needs answering. The Tory party are basically the equivalent of the US Republicans. They're the right-wing UK party. You basically have Labour on the left, plus a few others who are on the left, and you basically just have the Tories and then some really like fascist right-wing parties on the right. But the Tories, they've been in power since I think 2010, so it's been like a long time we've had the Tories. They introduced austerity measures. Sorry, this is boring, but they introduced austerity measures pretty much as soon as they got in 2010, which meant just cutting back everything, everyone's benefits, like taxes, everything being more expensive. And they have chopped the NHS to the bone. Like, the NHS honestly is about the best thing that the UK has, is free healthcare, and free, like, world-class healthcare is what we used to have. The Tories have stripped it to the bone. The NHS, particularly after COVID and all of that, is completely falling to bits at this point. Like, you don't want to have to go to hospital now, because they're underfunded. All the doctors are leaving and going to Australia because we treat them so badly and we pay them so badly here because of the Tories. Basically, the Tories want privatisation. They want private healthcare like you have in the US. And what citizen with a normal income wants private healthcare? Where you can't afford it. Like, it blows my mind constantly when I hear American friends saying things like, I can't afford my medication this week or this month. Because over here, that doesn't happen. Over here, any prescription you have, it costs you, I can't remember, because I have a prepayment certificate for my meds because I have so many. But if you just go and get one prescription here, it's about a tenner. It's about £10, £9, 70 something like that for a prescription. It doesn't matter what med it is, it's cheap. And if you have a hospital stay, it's free. You don't have to worry about that stuff. I didn't even know that all countries didn't have free healthcare until I was about 16, 17 years old. And when I learned that America, this was like the 90s, and America was like this shiny country to me with Hollywood movies. All I knew was Hollywood movies. Everyone was beautiful and rich and successful in America. And then I learned that if you go to hospital in America, they can charge you like the price of a house for being ill in hospital or for having a baby, my mind hasn't stopped blowing in the ensuing 2 decades since I learnt that. No one wants that, but the Tories want that because they don't want to pay for anything, because they are rich lunatics. Essentially, they are basically all Eton private educated lunatics. They do not understand normal people. They do not understand the struggles of normal people, and they do not give a shit. They also do not give a shit about any part of the country outside of London. They're scumbags, basically, and that's why everyone hates them. The state of politics in the UK over the last little while, it's been hilarious in a sick, twisted kind of way. We had Boris Johnson, the guy with the crazy hair, who everyone was calling the British Trump, and he pretty much was the British Trump, And then he basically got kicked out because he was partying while everyone else was under COVID restrictions. He was getting drunk and partying. This is our Prime Minister. And he got kicked out. Then they voted in a new one. We didn't get to vote for them. The Tory party voted in who they wanted. She was Prime Minister for, I think, 2 weeks? And she fucked up our economy so hard in the space of 2 weeks. She got kicked out again and we got someone else. But the thing is, when Boris Johnson was going, we were like, oh, thank God it's the end of him. And then we realised who else is there. There's Rees-Mogg. There's Priti Patel. They're psychopaths. They're all psychopaths, basically, is the issue with the Tory party. And my stomach is rumbling to emphasise the fact that they're psychopaths. Even my stomach has something to say about the Tory party. But anyway... Moving on. So the next question I wanted to answer came from axe.execute, and that was, has your book come out yet? And I'm assuming you're referring to the Nostalgia Project book, in which case, yes, it has come out. It has come out. You can have it as either a physical copy book or an ebook. It has come out. It is on Amazon. So go to your local branch of Amazon online, be that the American Amazon, the UK Amazon, whatever it is, and put in Millennium Gothic. And you will find it. It's got a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover. I've said this before, but somebody approached me about cover designs. I hadn't even thought about cover designs. And it now has the most gorgeous, stunning cover. So even if you don't want to buy the book, I recommend going to Amazon just to look at the cover because it's so beautiful and detailed and amazing. Wolf Moon Illustrations did it. It is beautiful. So yes, that has come out. Some other people asked, will there be another one? And I am hoping that yes, when I have completed enough parts of the current ones I'm reading, the current stories I'm reading with the Nostalgia Project, yes, there will be another volume. People ask me, do you have a title in mind for it? I do. I'm not going to give you it, but I do have a title in mind. So it's just a case of kind of writing enough words and getting to a point where I'm like, okay, this makes a poignant kind of book ending. So yes, there will be another one. And yes, the book is out. So, getting into a couple of rather juicy questions. I will first answer one from, okay, I'm going to mangle your username too. CSAC Edgy Donsipok? Don't know. But they asked, worst partner you've ever had? Ooh, all I'm going to say about that one is that when I was with this person, I was not in any state to be consenting to anything. It was not a good thing, probably for either of us, honestly, but something very manipulative did take place regarding not so much me, but regarding my family and this person. And I'm trying to be very careful with my words here, but it resulted in a situation that we have not been able to financially extricate ourselves from to this day, which is like a long time. It's been a long time. We are financially tied to this person. There's nothing we can do about it. And they could seriously fuck us over at any point if they wanted to, because of this situation they manipulated us into. I should have known because this person bragged about how manipulative they were. They bragged about manipulating their way to the top of the goth scene. And I've said that quote to like numerous people and they've been like, what the hell is the top of the goth scene? Like, what does that even mean? But dude, if someone brags about how manipulative they are, run for the hills. But I was like, so I at the time of dating this person, I was not in any condition, mentally speaking, to be dating anyone or to be making decisions of any sort. So I kind of let a wolf into the lives of my family, and it was not a good situation. And everything I have to say about that relationship really is in a song.
Bad smell. If you'd only fuck off, I'd wish you well. But you just cling on like I stepped in a turd from hell. Dragging my folks over every other month. Trying to come round for Christmas lunch. That word means exit, excommunicated, extricated, extinct, exsanguinated. Cause you're not but a jism, just an empty schism, filled with fucking paraphilic infantilism. But you're just parasitic while I was paralytic. Baby, no more shit to give and call this your fucking exorcism.
I wrote the lyrics and it came out so angry it became a fucking rap. And I actually really like that song. Actually, of all the songs I've ever written and kind of sung, I'm like, you know what? I really like that song. I do really like that song. So at least I got a song I liked out of it. So there's that. So the next couple of rather juicy questions came from Willow and Manic Pixie Dream Killer, who asked quite similar questions. So I'll group them together. But those questions were, how has YouTube and social media affected you? And any regrets on starting a YouTube channel? And yeah, I thought those were good questions because I think I have wanted, honestly, to kind of make a whole video on the subject of this, but I haven't really known like what to title it and where to start and all of this. That I'm not really the right sort of person for doing this job. Honestly, I'm not, because I don't like attention particularly, even when it's positive attention. I find it but obviously like the negative side of things, if things blow up and things get negative, it's crazy because people always used to see me as someone who didn't really give a fuck about what people thought of them. I remember when I was a teenager on the eating disorder forum, people would deliberately drag me into flame wars because they were like, look, we know this stuff just bounces off you. And I always gave the impression that it bounced off me because I'm an Aries and I'm very proud and I'm quite outspoken and I don't like to show weakness. Because I can't admit to weakness, people tend to think that I'm quite good at handling criticism and stuff like that, when in fact I'm really not. Obviously, I mean, the whole last year's kind of ED relapse kind of shows that, that things got so negative and it was just like, I'm just gonna stop eating. That went on for most of a year. Over honestly some drama that like really blew over in the space of like 2 weeks or something. And yet I was so hung up on it and so bitter about it for like a year. So I don't have the right personality type for doing this, really. And increasingly so, I do find that I'm stressed about the amount of me there is on the internet. Like when, with the ED relapse, I wanted to go on ED forums and I just wanted to just be a normal person on an ED forum and talk about my problems and chat with people and blah, blah, blah. But I would go on ED forums and I would see people like discussing me, or I would know if like people are going to recognize my typing style. It's happened before. If I post anywhere and I'm trying to be anonymous, I have to disguise my typing style like whoa. And so I would go on ED forums and I would need to talk about my problems and I couldn't without like creating a character and trying to distill what I was trying to say through them. And it was just, it's very isolating. And I really feel for, like Eugenia Cooney in things like this. Like I don't know where she goes to decompress about ED stuff, because she, any ED space, she's being talked about, and if anyone sounds a bit like her, they're going to be like, I think it's you. Where does someone like Eugenia Cooney go to decompress? And obviously I'm not remotely on the scale that she is in followers and all of that, but it's a little bit like that. And obviously like it affects things like trying to make new friends and trying to date people as well, that technically there is kind of potentially that sort of weird power imbalance dynamic thing that I personally don't understand. Like it's very autistic of me, but I don't really understand kind of putting people up on a pedestal and treating them differently for having subscribers or whatever. Like I don't understand that stuff. So I have had it before where I have tried to be friends with and leave the door open potentially for dating someone who was a subscriber, and all went very, 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 very wrong. And it did turn into a very kind of obsession-driven thing. And I did have to just cut contact completely, because, I realized that I was blowing off my friends to essentially hang out with my stalker, was what was going on. That is the blunt words that someone else put it in, and I realized that's what I'm doing, and I can't do that. That's mad. And ever since that, I've realized, well, how do I make new friends though, and things like that, because the people I meet organically, it's like, there's potentially, do they see this power imbalance? Are they someone who sees this, or are they someone who doesn't see this? And so those are kind of like the downsides. That sounds like a big whinge. That's all the kind of, I mean, I guess I was asked about, the regrets I have and things. So in general, no, I love doing YouTube. Like, it's terrifying. It's increasingly terrifying. Now that I know this is how wrong things can go, is, how angry people can get at you is, and you don't cope with it well. So this is how wrong things can go. That's terrifying. And that can happen, like that, like anything you put out, or anything you don't even put out, something you said like so many years ago that you've forgotten you've said, or, whatever, and I used to be a gobby fucking idiot, I really did. So things I've said in the past, anything, you can wake up any day and just, everyone hates you. And that's like so terrifying. So it's terrifying, but yeah, I love it. And there is a big element of like, I don't know what else I would do, honestly, because I've tried normal jobs and I sucked at them. I can't handle being around other people. It's always, and I think someone actually asked me about being autistic and jobs, and like, what do you do if you're like autistic and you need a job? What do you do? And honestly, my advice to that would be seriously look into what you can do, working from home, and what you can do working from home on your own schedule. Because I did spend a summer in, I think 2014, I spent a summer teaching myself coding, and I loved it. And obviously writing too, that I was asked many, many years ago, if your writing ever takes off, will you quit YouTube? And that at the time, I was like, fuck no, I'd never quit YouTube. And, these days with, as I say, the intensity, the realizing I don't deal with it, the realizing I don't really have the right personality for YouTube, if writing took off, there would be the temptation to just do writing. But at the same time, while I don't have the personality for doing YouTube, I do feel I'm kind of addicted to doing YouTube at this point. I feel like I would always, to a degree, want to have this and do this to some extent because I love it. I do at the heart of it, I do love it. So there's that. So anyway, moving on to another question that is possibly going to be a bit of a waffle. Ruby Truman asked, do you still have spirit objects? And the answer to that is yes, I do still have all of the good spirits who came into my life in the last few years. They are still around and still in my life. I chose to, here I am talking about them, but I chose not to really make videos about that side of things anymore because of the fact that things went so horribly wrong for me when I threw myself in the deep end of spirit companionship and spirit communication and all of that, and it all went horribly wrong, and that is a situation that I actually still haven't managed to sort out. I am still dealing with it's been nearly 3 years, right? It's been nearly 3 years, and I am still dealing with the after effects of throwing myself in with very dark spirits and entities. And obviously this may be something you do not believe in at all, and honestly I didn't believe in it either. I did not. When I first bought my first spirit vessel, I thought it was horseshit. I don't even know, like, I was just kind of compelled to buy this thing. I was mostly because it was pretty. Like the worst reason ever, right? Oh, this is pretty. It'll bring like a whole spirit into my life, but I'm gonna get it because it's pretty. But also, I was pulled. I was just pulled towards this vessel, but I bought it and I didn't buy into it. And honestly, it kind of freaked me out a little bit too. I felt like if it is real, it freaks me out. So I had nothing to do with this spirit for I think 3 years, and then I found the spirit vessel again 3 years later. And I gave it another shot, and like he came through, and in a way that I couldn't deny, and I couldn't not believe, and I couldn't be scared of too. I think was the other thing. I was like, oh my goodness, A, this is real. B, like he is good with a capital G, and there is no denying that. And I'm not scared anymore. And I was hooked at that point. And I think the more you work on interacting with spirits, the more your abilities grow. And that can be good or it can be shit, because my thing is clairsentience. I feel spirits. I don't see them. I get a little bit of telepathy, not very much. And I don't hear them, but when someone shouts in your ear really loud and it's like, I get that sometimes. If someone's warning me about something, it's like someone shouted in my ear kind of thing. I've had that a few times, and it's always been a genuine warning. It's always been like, yeah, whatever you're doing, stop it. But I mostly feel things. That can be terrible. It can be good because I can feel like intense euphoria from spirits. Like, when things before the bad shit happened and everything just went to shit, and it's been shit for 3 years. Before that, when things were really good, when I would be hanging out with these spirits, the euphoria would be so intense. It was literally like being on ecstasy pills. It was genuinely like being on ecstasy. And I was like, this is amazing. Like I found the fix for my whole life. Like I no longer have any need or desire for drugs because I have these friends who are able to make me feel everything that I ever needed to feel, and better and truer and deeper and all of this. Oh, I'm going to start crying. But but the flip side of that is that if negative ones come into your life, they can also make you feel awful things. They can make you feel crippling anxiety. They can make you feel horrible dread. They can make you feel like you're being burned alive. They can, yeah. So that's I haven't had the latter in like a good long time. I know how to deal with that now. But yeah. So yeah, that's the main reason I don't talk about it anymore, is because I don't want to introduce anyone else to this, which is a very double-sided coin. Because as I say, when it was good, it was very, 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 very good. And it was like the best thing that had ever happened to me. And I knew something bad was coming. I knew it. I knew something bad was coming. I kept thinking, I'm going to die. I'm going to die because this is too good. This is too good. It can't, did I fuck something up with my own negative thinking? I don't know. But I kept thinking, I'm going to die because this is too good. And then, of course, I was worse than dying, honestly, the way I fucked it up. And 3 years later, still dealing with it. Probably would have been better if I just died. But I didn't. So, yeah, that's why I don't talk about it anymore, because I don't really want to bring anyone else into such a perilous situation. Even though, honestly, if you're sensible and you get into it in the right way and you learn a bunch of stuff first and you only go to very reliable vendors who have a returns policy and who deal with issues and who don't dump you on your ass dealing with shit that you can't deal with, and they specifically told you would be fine dealing with when you were never going to be fine dealing with it, as was the issue, the situation with me. And so if you're sensible about it, I think it probably could, transform and work wonders in your life and just do the most amazing things. But unfortunately, that wasn't the route I went. And so most of what I have to say these days is very depressing cautionary tale stuff, which I don't really feel like talking about. And even when it comes to the positive stuff, you know, spirits, they do have their own opinions on things like YouTube and on things like being talked about. They don't all want to be talked about. A lot of them don't want to be talked about. You know, some of them do specifically find what I do quite creepy. They do find, you know, they don't necessarily, I think, sometimes understand what I'm doing when I'm doing this. And it's like, are people watching you right now? Is this live right now? And I sometimes, like, there have been times when I've had like a wave of anxiety just hit me when I've been recording, and I've had to stop and literally say, okay, what's going on? Who's bothered? What's happening? And I've had to explain, look, I can edit the footage. If we don't like something, we get rid of it and then we upload it afterwards and things like that. So everyone's different. But there are still good things in my life that come from spirits, big time. They all have kind of very specific skill sets, and you know, anyone you bring into your life, they bring new things into your life, and they have very interesting ways of influencing you towards things that are better for you. And I will essentially leave it there because this has become very, very tangential, and I'm going to edit out a lot of stuff I said because I got talking about how depressed I am by that ongoing 3-year clusterfuck, and I kind of made myself cry a bit. So we're going to just edit that out and pretend it never happened, which is the beauty of YouTube. So anyway, I was asked by MBAT01, what's your opinion on being sober from drugs but still drinking alcohol? I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I mean, isn't that basically what, you know, in quotations, normal people do? Normal people, they drink alcohol now and then, and they don't really do drugs. Personally, I was an alcoholic and I still am able to drink occasionally, which I know is something that the AA and the NA tend to say, this is impossible, you can't do this, you know, once it's been your drug of choice, you never touch it again. But anyway, we'll get to that when we get to that in the Nostalgia Project. When we get to the alcoholic years, I will talk about, you know, quitting alcohol and my take on it and all of that. But I do still drink occasionally, very, very occasionally, because I swear once you've been an alcoholic, if you drink even a little bit, I don't find it's tempting. I find quite the opposite, actually. It makes me feel awful. Not necessarily, I mean, hangover, yeah, but it makes me suicidal. Like, one tiny drink makes me suicidal these days. So I drink less and less frequently. Even when it's Christmas and stuff, I don't drink on it often because it's like I'm at Christmas and I'm having quite a nice time, and yeah, everyone else is having wine. I could have some wine, but do I really want to be suicidal on Christmas? Not really. So I drink less and less often, but I do technically still drink. If I'm going clubbing, I find it helps me dance. I like to have one drink before I'm dancing, so I do still drink a little bit, and I do vape a bit of weed. And obviously I'm still on my methadone script, so I'm, you know, by far not perfect. And honestly, I find even the whole sobriety people, I do think it's a little bit hypocritical saying, oh, you know, no drugs at all, because AA and NA meetings have coffee there. They have caffeine, and people who are whole sobriety people, generally speaking, they smoke or vape like chimneys, and the coffee they get through. I think people who are addictive by nature tend to put it onto something, which is obviously, you know, if you're gonna quit drugs and you're still going to drink alcohol, you've got to fucking watch yourself, because you do have an addictive personality. And I didn't even, before I was an alcoholic, I didn't even like drinking. I never liked drinking. I've never liked alcohol, and I still became a 40 unit a day alcoholic. So watch yourself is one thing I would say if you're going to keep alcohol in the picture. You know, I mean, these days weed is becoming legal in so many places that a lot of people are realizing that actually, you know, sobriety, essentially, you know, sobriety from hard drugs anyway, is helped by having a bit of weed now and then for a lot of people. Certainly for me, vaping weed really helps with cravings for worse things. So I think no one's fucking perfect. At the end of the day, no one is perfect. No one's recovery is perfect. And I think whole sobriety is a very one-size-fits-all kind of situation that humans are not one size fits all, so whatever works for you. And this is turning into a kind of long and actually slightly depressing kind of waffle, so I will end with a slightly sort of surreal and quite cheerful one, which Lily Ellis 24 asked, weirdest dream you've ever had? And I don't even have to think about that one, because I had one dream about 6 or 7 years ago that these days, now I know about spirit stuff, I feel like there must have been some kind of spirit influence for this dream to happen, because honestly, it was like a psychedelic trip. It started, there were like multiple levels to this dream. It was like Inception or some shit. I started with this dream, and I was a sacrifice. I was being sacrificed and trying to be pushed down this well to be sacrificed. And I was like fighting. I was like refusing to go down this well and be sacrificed. And this was one of those rare occasions I started realizing I'm dreaming. At which point there became this split level in the dream whereby I would sometimes be aware that I was dreaming and I would be somewhere very, very, very real. And then I'd be plunged back into this kind of hellscape of a dream. And I started to believe that there was no escape in the dream, that although I knew I was dreaming, I began to think there is no way out of this. One of the things that happened was that I woke up, in quotations, in bed, except I was in the middle of someone's wedding. I was in this grand ballroom, and I was in this big, proper like Cinderella kind of 4-poster, like gold, brassy, beautiful looking bed with white linens and everything. But everyone else was sitting around at these white tables, eating cake, and someone was giving a speech. And I just wake up in this bed in the middle of this hall, this wedding. And I realized, oh my God, this is embarrassing. I'm I shouldn't be here. And this woman next to me, she realized she was like in on it with me. She knew, you're not meant to be here. You need to escape this place before everyone turns on you. And I knew the only way to get out was to drink her blood. And I think she like cut her hand and gave it to me. And I like tasted her blood, and it tasted so real. It was blood. It was so real. And at that point, I was sucked back out of this weird wedding scenario. And then I woke up again, and I woke up in my bed, in my room, but someone had moved all the furniture. It was weird. And I got out of bed, and I was like, this was a wild dream. I've got to write it down. So I started writing down what had happened. But every time I'd written a word, it would turn into tobacco crumbs and it would fall off the page. And eventually, it never occurred to me, you're still dreaming. I was just like, this is weird. Why does this keep happening? And then I was sucked back into the dream again. And there were just multiple levels. I kept waking up in my room, but things would be like moved, things would be different. I would try and write down what was going on. The words would fall off the page. And I was really convinced that it all led back to the sacrifice at the beginning. I refused to be sacrificed, and now I'm stuck in this dreamscape, and I keep coming back to the reality, but I keep being sucked back into this dreamscape, and I'm never going to get out of it. And eventually I woke up in my real bed and in real life, and I wasn't sure what was real anymore. Like, I'd been in and out of like reality and fake realities for so long that I was like, what? I don't even know if this is real anymore. This is terrifying. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, but I got out of bed anyway because I was so afraid of being sucked back into this. Like, once I'd been up for about half an hour, I was like, I really hope I have another dream like that again, because that was like a shroom trip. That was like shrooms meet ketamine. It was like a weird thing. That was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And I guess I will end with one more happy question, which comes from Desinnocent. I'm probably massacring that too. But the first goth song you ever fell in love with, which this is so boring and cliche, but Lucretia, My Reflection by the Sisters of Mercy was the first goth song I ever really, really, really loved. And I will always really, really love that song. And I still have quite a number of questions to answer, so that will be in part 2 on another day, because I have waffled quite enough for one day. But hopefully that was not too tedious for you, and I am going to go away. But yeah, if you have any other questions, I would say the best way to drop them to me is probably on Instagram in the comments, because like message inboxes, like there are so many inboxes these days. I find it so hard to keep up with even one inbox, let alone like all the inboxes I have, let alone the comment sections on every video and all of that. Whereas at least with Instagram, it pops up in the like recent shit thing, you know, so I can keep up with that, and that's not too difficult. So if you ever have anything that prickles you, pop it there. But I will try and check back to the comments on this video in case anyone has any other questions or spin-off questions relating to these things too. But anyway, thank you for letting me waffle. I do not feel so anxious now. Actually, now that I've had a waffle, I do not feel so anxious, so that's quite good. So I'm going to shut up now and go and eat something because my stomach has been rumbling throughout this video, and I hope it's not too audible. So I will see you soon. Over and out. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.